Imagine time as a strand of light, some moments bright and faceted, others dim and easily lost. Welcome. This hour, elastic time memory, trauma, and the warping of now, is a calm, science-informed journey to help you notice how memory shapes the felt present and to practice small, steady tools that reclaim the flow of your life. We'll briefly cover why some days blur and others expand, name how trauma and collective wounds can distort time, open into restorative states like flow and awe, and guide you through a 15-minute recalibration practice to place memories with care. Visually, you'll be held by a simple metaphor, a luminous thread with beads of memory, symbolic, soothing, and trauma-sensitive. Use headphones, a quiet space, and a small notebook if you wish. If anything feels intense, pause and return to grounding or reach out for support. When you're ready, settle in gently. We begin. Begin by making yourself comfortable. Let the body be supported by the chair or floor beneath you. Ease your shoulders, soften the jaw, and rest your hands where they feel natural. Allow your breath to arrive without effort. Imagine for a moment a library without walls. It is not built of timber and stone but of light and quiet. A vast open field where orbs of memory float like lanterns, each one humming with a tone that carries an image, a feeling, a small story. Time here does not march in a straight line. It sits, it coils, it waits. Past, present, and possibility inhale together in the same calm space. You have come tonight to notice how time lives inside you. Not the measured tick of a clock, but the texture of seconds as they are felt. Sometimes stretched into long corridors of detail, sometimes collapsing into a smooth, unmarked flow. We will be tracing those shapes, how memory thickens a moment, how emotion bends the felt present, and how certain states can make time feel elastic. There is no requirement to believe in any particular story. Treat this hour as an experiment in attention. Part gentle inquiry, part guided practice. Bring curiosity as your companion and kindness as your measure. If something feels intense, return to the breath. If you need to pause or step away, honor that need. This work is for practice, not proof. Now soften your awareness around a single breath. Notice the inhale arriving, gentle, uncomplicated, and the exhale releasing what no longer needs to be held. With each breath, allow the mind to settle a little more into this present space. Over the next hour, we will listen to experiences of time, the science that helps us name the mechanisms, the lived stories that show us how time can be wounded or opened, and simple practices you can use to recalibrate your sense of now. Keep your intention quiet and gentle, to observe, to receive, and to hold with care. When you are ready, let the scene of the library unfurl before you. A field of lanterns, a web of threads, a place to set small beads of memory and to notice how they sit on the strand of your life. We begin there. Begin by bringing your attention back to the body. Let the shoulders rest. Allow the breath to move at its own pace. If your eyes are closed, keep them soft. If they are open, let the gaze soften and lower. We begin with experience, the felt quality of time. Imagine 2 days side by side. One is a day you will later describe as a blur, where tasks flowed one into another and evening arrived before you noticed. The other is a day you recall as full and long, a day of travel, a day of novelty, a day when each small moment carried texture. Notice the difference in how your memory holds each day. There is an easy way to feel this difference inside your body. Bring to mind a recent small moment that felt long, perhaps waiting for a message, watching a child do something ordinary, or sitting on a cold bench. Let the sensations return. The faint sounds, the temperature on your skin, the rhythm of your breathing. Notice how rich or thin those details are. Hold that sense for a breath. Now recall a moment that seemed to disappear quickly. A morning where tasks stacked and you felt you'd barely be able to remember the day's texture. Notice how few sensory details rise. You might perceive a flattening, a sameness. This contrast is not moral. it is informative. It tells us something about what our attention recorded and what memory later stitches together. To name what's happening, we can use the idea of event density. When a span of time contains many distinct, differently shaded events, retrospectively it feels long. When it contains fewer differences, it feels short. The mind, in effect, counts beads. The more beads it notices, the longer the string appears. Behind these everyday shifts are processes in the brain that scientists study with increasing care. One core idea is attention. Where you place your awareness determines what is encoded. Attention is like a flashlight in a dark room. Wherever the beam rests, detail becomes visible. When your flashlight moves slowly, you see more small things. When it stays fixed on one object, the rest of the room remains dim. Another helpful idea is prediction. Your brain is constantly making small forecasts about what will happen next. These predictions help perception be efficient. When reality matches expectation, the mind can move forward without much fuss. When prediction and reality diverge, an unexpected kindness, a startling sound, the nervous system flags the mismatch and allocates extra processing. Those flagged moments become denser in memory. Emotion and arousal are powerful amplifiers. High arousal, fear, exhilaration, deep interest, recruits the amygdala and related networks, which boost encoding. That's why a single intense event may feel lengthened in memory. The nervous system poured resources into preserving it. Low arousal and boredom, by contrast, often lead to shallow encoding. The moment passes without being richly annotated. Memory itself is not a passive tape. It is reconstructive. When you retrieve a past scene, you reassemble fragments. Images, sounds, body sensations, and narrative scaffolding. Retrieval is an act of imagination informed by the present. This reconstructive nature means two things. First, memory can change each time it is recalled. Second, the way we attend in the present shapes how we will remember later. Sleep and consolidation also matter for time's texture. During sleep, particularly in slow wave and REM cycles, the brain consolidates new experiences and integrates them into older networks. A day with sharp sensory contrasts and meaningful social interactions will often consolidate into a richer memory trace. A day with repetitive patterns may consolidate into less distinct memory. That process influences retrospective duration. Let us consider a simple metaphor to hold these ideas. Imagine your life as a strand of light, and each moment you live is a bead placed along it. Some beads are small and pale. Others are large, faceted, lit from within. The beads become visible when you take the time to notice them. Practice, small acts of attention, polishes the beads and makes the strand appear longer and more ornate when you look back. Now we'll take a moment to practice one of those small acts. This is a brief attention exercise that increases event differentiation. Place your attention on your next small action, perhaps setting down a cup, standing, or turning the page of a book. As you do, name one sensory detail aloud or in silence. Warm rim, soft page, cool air. Let the naming be calm, not forced. Repeat this once more with the next small action. These tiny labels create anchors that the memory system can grasp later. The science also distinguishes perspective time, how long something feels as it unfolds, from retrospective time, how long it feels when you look back. Perspective estimates are heavily influenced by attention and the moment-to-moment feeling of duration. Retrospective judgments rely more on the number and richness of encoded events. Sometimes a long day will feel short in the moment because you were absorbed. Later, recalling many distinct events, it will feel long. These two perspectives help explain common paradoxes of lived time. We can also say something about the social and cultural frames that shape time. Different cultures have varied temporal rhythms. Some emphasize cyclical, seasonal beats. Others prioritize linear planning and scheduling. Ritual and ceremony are cultural technologies for marking time. A weekly gathering, a seasonal festival, a funeral rite, These practices add shared beads to communal strands, making certain memories communal rather than purely private. Now I'll tell a few short vignettes to illustrate how these processes play out in life. Consider a person who spends an entire day caring for a loved one. Small acts of care repeated. In the moment, the day may feel monotonous and compressed. Later, when asked to recall, that day may expand into a day of detail. The texture of a hand, the angle of light, the flavor of a meal. The carefulness of attention during small acts, or the decision to name them later, transforms the day into a long bead-filled strand. Or think of a sudden travel day. New streets, unfamiliar smells, quick conversations, a tiny mishap. The nervous system is in novelty mode, prediction errors are frequent, and arousal is elevated. Later, that day will often feel expansively long because so many events were encoded. There is also a subtle technology of time that we can practice. Ritualized transitions. A brief pause between tasks, 3 mindful breaths, a small stretch, the lighting of a candle, functions like a bookmark. It separates events and signals the memory system to treat what follows as a distinct bead. Over weeks, these bookmarks create more retrievable moments. If you are practicing with others in your life, invite them to share small nightly markers. 1 small kindness, 1 unusual sight, 1 sentence of gratitude. Social sharing multiplies encoding because it layers personal memory with communal witness. The shared retelling itself re-encodes the events more richly. It's important to say gently, noticing and increasing event density is not about forcing novelty for its own sake or trying to make every day dramatic. Rather, it's about cultivating a receptive attention that can catch small meaning. It is about refusing to let every day blur into a gray indistinctness when small sparks of significance are available. Before we close this section, practice another brief exercise. Bring to mind 1 small ordinary moment from today. Perhaps the taste of a beverage, the way light hit a leaf, or a word someone said. Spend 30 seconds with this memory. Notice sensory detail, the texture of feeling, where it sits in the body. Then, on 1 breath, imagine placing that memory bead gently on the strand of your awareness. Feel the ease of recognition, the act of giving the moment a place. These are the building blocks. Attention, prediction, arousal, consolidation, and social scaffolding. Together they explain why time sometimes stretches into detailed corridors and sometimes slips away. They offer practical entry points for changing how life feels in the rear view and, ultimately, how the present is experienced. When you are ready, take another slow breath and carry the strand metaphor with you as you move into the next parts of this hour. We will soon explore how intensity and trauma can warp these processes, and what gentle practices can help re-anchor a fractured sense of time. Pause for a moment and check your posture. If anything in this section feels difficult, remember you may soften your gaze, rest your hands, or return to the breath at any time. This material touches on tender terrain. Treat yourself with extra kindness as you listen. We move now into a quieter, more delicate territory. How traumatic experience changes the way time is felt and remembered. This is not an abstract question. For many people, trauma is fundamentally temporal. It alters the flow of experience so that certain moments do not pass but return, or so that whole spans of life feel hollowed out. Our aim here is to describe these patterns with clarity and compassion, and to point toward practices and supports that can help. A core feature of traumatic memory is immediacy. When the nervous system experiences overwhelm, parts of that moment are encoded with extraordinary intensity. Sensory fragments, bodily sensations, smells, flashes of light. These fragments are sometimes stored without the surrounding story, without context, without a clear beginning and end. Later, a sound or a scent can trigger a fragment, and it can feel as if the past has become the present. People often call this a flashback, a moment that returns with the vividness of now. Flashbacks are not failures of mind. They are signals. Biologically, They reflect the way an overtaxed system chose to prioritize survival-relevant data. In the heat of overwhelm, the brain's normal narrative stitching, the process that weaves experience into a coherent story, can be bypassed. What remains are intense sensory traces that the body remembers before the story is available. For the person experiencing it, a flashback may collapse chronological time, and the present is flooded with past sensation. On the other end of the spectrum is dissociation, a response that can also follow trauma. Dissociation is a kind of temporal hollowing, a sense of being outside or beside one's life. People describe it as watching from a distance, as if life is a movie playing on a screen. Time can feel unreal, slow, or empty. Days may blur, and the continuity that usually holds identity together can feel frayed. Dissociation protects, but it also separates the person from the very sensations that could signal safety and repair. Both flashbacks and dissociation are adaptive responses to extreme stress. They are ways the nervous system manages threat. Understanding them as responses rather than defects helps reduce shame and opens the door to compassionate care. Traumatic encoding also tends to fragment memory itself. Rather than a narrated chapter, the past may remain as a collage of impressions. A certain tilt of light, a single smell, a physical ache. Because the narrative frame is missing, retrieval can be disorienting. When the pieces finally come together in therapy or conversation, they may rearrange the felt meaning of events, sometimes providing relief, sometimes surfacing more material to be worked with. This is why paced, supported integration is key. There are patterns in how trauma reshapes temporal experience that are worth naming. One is repetition. A traumatic moment may replay in dreams, intrusive images, or involuntary recollections. Another is timelessness. A person may feel stuck as if life is on pause. Yet another is foreshortening. A sense that the future will not arrive or cannot hold meaningful time. These patterns can overlap and shift over weeks, months, or years. The social and cultural context matters deeply. Collective traumas, wars, displacements, systemic injustice create shared temporal distortions. For communities, particular decades or events can feel perpetually present, and collective life rhythms are shaped around remembrance and vigilance. When a society does not recognize or repair harms, those temporal wounds can pass across generations. The field of cultural memory explores how societies remember, which stories are honored, and which are suppressed. Repair at this scale requires truth-telling rituals, public acknowledgement, and sustained communal practices that reweave the social strand of time. Let us speak briefly about clinical approaches that are commonly used to address traumatic time distortions. I will name a few with care and emphasize. These are not instructions for self-treatment but pointers for conversation with qualified professionals. Narrative integration work focuses on creating a coherent story around fragmented memories, helping to situate them in a life timeline. Telling a memory in a safe context and reauthoring its place in one's life can reduce its power to intrude. Somatic therapies attend to the body's held responses, tension, startle patterns, constriction, and use movement, touch, and breath to renegotiate how the nervous system stores experience. Because trauma often lives in bodily sensation, somatic repatterning can open new pathways for continuity. EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, and related protocols offer structured ways to reprocess distressing memories with bilateral stimulation. Some people find this helpful for reducing the immediacy of intrusive images. Stabilization-focused work, commonly used before deeper processing, teaches grounding and regulation skills so that a person has tools to return to safety when intense material arises. If you're considering therapy for traumatic memory, look for practitioners trained in trauma-informed approaches and prioritize safety. Slow pacing, consent, and stabilization before deep reprocessing. Beyond clinical settings, there are small, low-risk practices that support regulation and reduce the frequency and intensity of intrusive time distortions. These are not replacements for therapy but can be helpful adjuncts. One immediate practice is orienting to the senses. If a flashback begins, a gentle habit is to name out loud or in the mind 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 sounds you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. This grounding sequence brings attention to the present through the senses and can help reestablish a sense of current time. A second supportive habit is to create safety anchors. Small, stored reminders that signal the present is different from the past. This could be a tactile object in a pocket, a short phrase you repeat to yourself, or a photograph that evokes calm. The anchor works as a beacon. When intrusive memory arrives, the anchor is a practice cue to orient back to now. Community and witnessing play an essential role in temporal healing. Being seen and believed about one's experience is profoundly time reweaving. In clinical terms, empathy and validation scaffold narrative integration. In social terms, shared rituals and memorial practices distribute the weight of memory so it does not choke the present. Consider simple communal acts: a weekly circle, a remembrance with clear structure, a public acknowledgement, as ways to move memory from a solitary loop into an accountable social strand. We should also acknowledge the paradox that some forms of remembering are necessary for justice. Naming harms publicly can be painful but also liberatory. It resituates an event within social time and demands repair. The ethical challenge is to hold truth-telling alongside care for survivors, ensuring that the process of making memory public does not re-traumatize individuals. Thoughtful rituals, witness training, and professional supports can make communal remembrance reparative rather than re-injuring. Now, a few lived examples to make these patterns less abstract. One person I'll describe kept waking at the hour of a past assault. Mornings had become a slow, grinding fear tied to a clock number. Through therapy, she learned to create a ritual at that hour, a breathing sequence, a small ceremony of felt safety, the naming of a supportive image, which over months reduced the hourly anticipation and restored a sense of moving through time rather than waiting for dread. Another example involves a family living with collective historical trauma. Ancestors' stories were unspoken, and grief did not have a place. A community elder organized a small ceremony each year to name losses and to plant a tree. Over time, those rituals created a public strand of memory that allowed private grief to move into a shared field, easing personal stuckness. It is important to say plainly, healing is uneven. Memories may be integrated in fits and starts. Some days feel better, others do not. When progress occurs, it is often slow, cumulative, and supported by relationships. The metaphor I offered earlier, beads on a strand, applies here. Adding anchors, telling stories with care, creating rituals, and working with a trained practitioner gradually changes the texture of the strand. For those listening who may feel triggered by this material, please consider pausing the episode, returning to the breath, or contacting a supportive person. If you're in crisis, seek immediate local support or emergency services. If you want resources, the episode notes include links to trauma-informed organizations and directories for certified clinicians. Before we close this section, let us practice a brief regulation technique you can use in moments of overwhelm. It is simple and portable. Bring your feet to the floor if you are sitting, or notice the points of contact your body makes with the surface supporting it. Feel weight, not force. Take 3 slow breaths, counting silently to yourself on each inhale and exhale. On the 3rd exhale, picture or touch a small grounding object, real or imagined a smooth stone, a folded cloth, a snipped ribbon. Let this object be a signal, a reminder that the present is different from what once happened. This practice is modest, but with repetition it can help rebuild the sense that moments belong in sequence rather than being trapped in loops. As we prepare to move into the next section, which explores states where time can expand in generative ways, flow, awe, lucid dreaming, and contemplative openings, hold gentle compassion for yourself. Trauma affects time, but time can also be reshaped through careful practice and relational repair. You are not alone in this. Begin by letting your posture settle. Feel the support beneath you. Allow the breath to arrive without forcing it. If it helps, place a hand on the chest or belly to notice the rise and fall. In the previous section, we explored how trauma can fracture time's flow. Now we turn to a different edge of the same terrain. States in which time opens, stretches, or takes on a different quality that can be restorative, revealing, or generative. These states are varied flow, awe, grief's peculiar expanses, lucid dreams, contemplative depths, and in some contexts, carefully guided psychedelic openings. Each one offers a different way to inhabit and reconfigure the felt present. Flow, absorption, and refined presence. Let's begin with flow, a state many people recognize. Flow happens when challenge and skill meet, when attention is fully captured by an activity that fits capacity and purpose. Painting, playing music, climbing, coding, caregiving done with deep presence. In flow, subjective time often feels altered. The moment is intensely present and simultaneously, in memory, richly detailed. The paradox is that while the clock may seem to pass quickly, the day can feel full in retrospect because so many finely textured moments were encoded. Flow is not magic. It's a pattern of attention and reward. The brain's predictive systems are neither bored nor overwhelmed. They are engaged. Dopaminergic circuits reinforce sustained engagement, and the person's sense of self recedes enough to allow seamless action. Practically, cultivate flow by matching tasks to skill level, minimizing interruptions, and creating small rituals that signal the brain to enter absorptive mode. A warm cup, soft lighting, a short breathing center before beginning. Awe, perspective, and temporal dilation. Awe is another doorway. Imagine standing before a vast canyon, a night sky dense with stars, a piece of music that makes the chest open. Awe feels like a loosening of ordinary temporal boundaries, a sense of smallness and an expanded horizon. In awe, personal time dilates, meaning shifts, priorities may realign. Experiences of awe often become anchor points in memory because they change the narrative frame. What mattered before may rearrange in light of something larger. Awe is powerful because it creates cognitive space. It punctures habitual frames and invites new perspectives. Practices to invite awe need not be grand. A walk in a place you haven't noticed before, listening to a piece of music while eyes closed, seeing a photograph of a landscape different from your own. Intentionally seeking moments that enlarge your sense of scale is a modest practice with outsized memory effects. Grief, oscillation, depth, and strange temporal textures. Grief deserves careful attention. Unlike awe or flow, grief's temporal patterns are complex and often unpredictable. In early grief, time can slow into thick, heavy days. There may be sudden spikes of memory where a detail returns with sharpness. Other times, months may collapse into a single sustained ache. Importantly, grief is not a problem to solve but a process to be lived through and around. Rituals, anniversaries, and shared remembrance create structure, allowing mourning to have shape and a place on the communal strand of time. A practical offering: mark a small ritual at a meaningful hour or day. A written note, lighting a candle, a small act of care. These repeated beats provide rhythm that holds grief as it evolves. In community, naming loss aloud with witness changes private, looping into shared belonging, altering the temporal burden. Lucid dreaming and revisiting memory with perspective. Lucid dreaming and directed dreaming are forms of time shifting that can be practiced. In a lucid dream, one recognizes dream content while within it, and sometimes can interact with remembered material in new ways. Lucidity allows for rehearsal, reframing, or encountering memories from different vantage points. Because dreams distort chronology, they also permit experimentation. Seeing an event from an older or younger self, changing a scene's ending, or meeting a symbolic representation of an emotion. Lucid practice involves sleep hygiene, reality checks in the day, setting intention before sleep, and gentle journaling upon waking. It is not a shortcut. It requires patience. When integrated with reflective work, lucid dreaming can be a safe sandbox to explore memory, but it should be paired with grounded waking practices to avoid dissociation. Contemplative immersion and long-duration attention. Deep meditation and contemplative practices also reshape time. In sustained attention practices, the felt present can expand. Ordinary preoccupations recede, and awareness opens into subtle layers of sensation and thought. Over time, practitioners often report that life's moments accumulate with greater vividness. The present becomes richer, and retrospective time densifies. Long-duration retreats intensify these effects, but even small daily habits, 10 to 20 minutes of focused attention, compound into a transformed temporal sense. Psychedelic openings, contextual, careful. There is growing interest and research into psychedelic-assisted experience as a way to change memory and temporal perspective. Under carefully controlled, ethically framed conditions, these substances can temporarily dissolve habitual patterns, allow recontextualization of traumatic memories, or provoke experiences of meaning and connectedness that reconfigure narrative arcs. However, context matters immensely. Setting, preparation, and integration are essential. Without them, psychedelic time bending can be disorienting or destabilizing. If considering such work, seek qualified, licensed facilitators and follow legal, clinical guidance. Integration, the post-experience work of making meaning and grounding insights, is as important as the experience itself. Adaptive versus maladaptive time bending. Across these states, a common question arises: when is altered temporal experience healing, and when is it harmful? The difference often comes down to regulation and integration. Adaptive experiences, flow, awe, grounded contemplative insight, well-supported psychedelic or dream work, tend to increase coherence, meaning, or capacity. Maladaptive experiences, prolonged dissociation, overwhelming re-traumatization, unmanaged intrusive repetitions, fragment continuity and erode agency. Practical markers of adaptive time bending include improved capacity for daily life, increased meaning or perspective, better emotional regulation, and the ability to recall and narrate experience without being overwhelmed. Markers of maladaptive patterns include persistent avoidance, loss of continuity, increased isolation, or functional impairment. If uncertain, reach out for support. Integration practices, making openings last. How do we make restorative time shifts durable? The answer is integration. Integration folds extraordinary experiences into ordinary life through narrative, ritual, and social sharing. After a moment of awe, telling the story to another person helps consolidate meaning. After a lucid dream or contemplative insight, journaling, mapping sensory details, and testing small changes in daily habit anchor the shift. After deep experiences, sharing with a small trusted circle or a therapist helps translate change into practice. Micro-practice, harvesting novelty into memory. A simple practice to harvest novelty, and thereby expand remembered time, is this. After any experience that felt a little different, take 1 minute to name 3 sensory details and 1 feeling, then write a single sentence about why it mattered. This small act multiplies encoding and over weeks changes how long life feels in the rearview. Community and ethical scaffolding. None of these states are purely personal. Their benefits expand when shared within ethical communities that hold boundaries and witness. A group ritual after a shared experience deepens learning. Witnessing another's telling helps both teller and listener relocate memories in relational time. Ethical scaffolding means consent, careful facilitation, attention to power dynamics, and support structures for integration. Stories and examples. A musician describes losing track of hours in rehearsal, then later recalling the day as luminous and formative. Flow created a dense bead of memory. A person returns from a wilderness hike reporting a profound feeling of awe that rearranged priorities for months. Small practices maintain the recalibration. A community used an evening of shared storytelling after a local disaster. The ritualized telling reduced isolation and gradually allowed ordinary daily rhythms to return. Safety reminders and boundaries. As we explore these rich states, remember, curiosity and caution go together. If an exploration triggers overwhelming material, return to breath, grounding practices, and trusted supports. If you work with deep practices, retreats, lucid protocols, or psychedelics, ensure ethical, professionally supported contexts. The aim is not to escape life, but to deepen the capacity to inhabit it with steadiness and meaning. Preparing to move forward. As this segment closes, notice what landed for you. Did a form of time-bending feel inviting? Did something feel risky or unsafe? Hold whatever arose with gentle acceptance. In the next section, we will move into concrete practices to reanchor and remodel time in daily life, ways to make beneficial shifts sustainable and to care for temporal wounds with steadiness. Pause for a moment and notice your posture. Let the body be supported. Allow the breath to arrive without trying to change it. If you are sitting, feel the contact of your feet with the floor. If you are lying down, feel the surface beneath you. These are simple invitations back to the present. In this section, we move from explanation to practice. We will explore concrete, accessible methods that change how time is experienced and remembered. Some are micro-practices you can use in a single moment. Others are habits and rituals to weave into days, weeks, and communities. None of these are quick fixes. They are gentle technologies of attention and repair, small scaffolds that, over time, change the texture of lived time. I will describe each practice, suggest how to try it, and offer brief guidance for integrating it into daily life. If anything feels too intense, slow down, return to the breath, or skip that practice for now. Safety and consent are always primary. Breath and micro-anchors, immediate regulators. Begin with the simplest scaffold, breath. The breath is both a temporal measure and a regulator. Use a 3-breath micro-anchor whenever you need to shift tempo, after a meeting, before a difficult call, or when you notice your attention collapsing into worry. How to practice. Pause and take 3 slow, attentive breaths. Breathe in, notice. Breathe out, notice. On the 3rd exhale, name one sensory detail aloud or in silence. Warm mug, soft light, chair support. Keep this practice portable. Store it as a habit. Connect it to natural cues, end of an email, closing a door, so it becomes a tiny bookmark between moments. Why it helps? It signals the nervous system to regulate. It increases event differentiation by adding a small label. Over time, it increases the number of encoded beads on your strand. Time mapping and event journaling, increasing encoding density. A longer-form habit is time mapping, a short nightly ritual in which you name 3 small events that mattered. This practice is not about grand achievement. It is about noticing. How to practice. Each evening, write 3 brief lines. 1 sensory detail, 1 small kindness, 1 small surprise. Or record a 30-second voice note naming the same. Once a week, expand one of those lines into a short paragraph. Where were you? Who was present? What did it feel like in the body? Why it helps? Naming and writing consolidates memory, making days feel fuller in retrospect. It also trains attention during the day because you begin to look for small moments to record. Rituals and transitional beats, structuring the day. Rituals are durable temporal technologies. They create predictable anchors that signal transitions and invite memory to land. Ideas for rituals. Morning. A brief 5-breath centering, lighting a small lamp or arranging a cup, naming an intention. Work transitions. A short stretch and a whispered phrase before beginning and after finishing a task. Evening. A closing sequence. A single page of journaling, a short gratitude note, or a shared question with household members about one small thing that was meaningful that day. Designing a ritual. Keep it short, symbolic, repeatable, and sensory. Use an object, a phrase, a sound. Practice it consistently for at least 3 weeks to allow habit formation. Make it personally meaningful. The ritual's power comes from repeat performance and the emotional associations that accrue. Movement and embodied timing, reclaiming time in the body. Movement anchors time in sensorimotor patterns. Walking with attention, gentle yoga, or a short sequence of movements help the body mark time in ways the mind remembers. Try this micro-practice, a 5-minute walk with noticing. Step mindfully and count each footfall to 4. Then shift attention to one sensory detail for a few steps, then another. End with one full breath and a naming of what you noticed. Why it helps? Movement creates bodily markers that enhance encoding and regulate arousal. It is especially useful when cognitive strategies feel thin or inaccessible. Narrative integration and gentle restoring for heavier memories. For memories that linger with intensity, narrative integration offers a gentle path. The aim is to situate a fragment within a humane sequence rather than force resolution. How to practice safely. Choose a small, manageable memory. Tell it aloud to a trusted listener or record it privately. Focus on sensory detail and context. Avoid pressuring yourself to reinterpret or explain. Simply place the memory within time by telling what happened before and after it. Repeat the telling slowly across days, noticing small shifts in tone or feeling. If intense effect arises, return to grounding practices and seek professional support if necessary. Why it helps? Narrative gives context, placing memory in a longer timeline and reducing its tendency to replay as a present moment. Social witnessing multiplies the effect. Being heard changes the memory's place in the communal strand. Social rituals and communal witnessing, distributing memory. Memory is partly social. Invite small shared practices to prevent isolation and to repair collective time. Examples: weekly story circles where each person shares one small event of the week. Keep the structure brief and the witness practice simple. Listen without advice. Acknowledge the teller. Commemorative practices. A community planting, a seasonal meal, a remembrance reading, structured acts that convert private burden into shared stewardship. Why it helps? Communities provide validation, context, and ritual beats that prevent memory from calcifying into private loops. Shared practices create social beads that sustain public time. Digital curation and the archive paradox, intentional saving. We live in an age of abundance. Uncurated accumulation flattens meaning. Thoughtful curation enriches recall. Practical steps. Create a small important moments folder. One photo, one voice note, one short text per day or week. Label each with a single sentence. Periodically review and prune. Use tags or simple categories, joy, learning, care, to build retrieval cues. Why it helps? Intentional curation provides retrieval scaffolds and resists the false comfort of endless storage that yields no coherent narrative. Integration scheduling and the tempo of repair, pacing deeper work. When working with heavy material or deep practices, schedule integration time. Extraordinary states require ordinary time to be assimilated. How to practice? After a deep session, a long meditation, a lucid dream, a therapeutic encounter, allocate a gentle integration block. A 20 to 60-minute window in the following day for gentle reflection, journaling, movement, and social sharing. Create a small ritual to close the integration block. A cup of tea, a walk, a short note capturing one learning. Why it helps? Integration prevents transient insights from dissipating and reduces the risk of destabilization after powerful experiences. Symbol and object anchors, external aids for internal time. Symbols and small objects can hold temporal meaning and cue recollection. How to practice? Choose an object that represents the practice or a desired orientation. A small stone, a ribbon, a bowl. Keep it visible in a place of transition. When you touch it, name an intention or memory and place a small bead on the strand of awareness. Why it helps? External objects trigger memory retrieval and create sensory anchors that the nervous system recognizes. Over time, touch cues a practiced response. Troubleshooting and compassionate persistence. Practices can feel awkward or fail at first. Here are brief troubleshooting tips. If a practice feels like work, shorten it. Tiny repeated acts are more sustainable than long, sporadic efforts. If a practice triggers overwhelm, stop, return to grounding, and consult a professional if needed. Safety first. If motivation fades, pair the practice with an enjoyable element, tea, music, or anchor it to an existing habit. Habit stacking increases follow-through. Track gently. Keep a weekly log of small wins. More vivid memories, fewer blur days, better sleep. Celebrate incremental change. A suggested weekly template. Daily, 3 breath microanchors after morning routines and before bed. Nightly event journal with 3 items. 3 times a week, 5-minute mindful walk or movement practice. Weekly, 20 to 30-minute ritual or story sharing with a friend or small group. Monthly, review curated archive items and pick one to expand into a paragraph or voice note. Adjust to fit your life and capacities. Consistency matters more than intensity. Guided mini practice. Placing beads and designing a tiny ritual. Now we'll do a short guided exercise that combines several of these elements. Breath anchoring, bead placing, and a tiny ritual you can carry forward. If you are comfortable, close your eyes. Rest your hands lightly in your lap. Take 3 slow, attentive breaths, in and out, letting each exhale soften. Bring to mind one small moment from today that you would like to hold. Perhaps a smile, a taste, a short exchange. Let the sensory detail come. Color, sound, texture. Allow it to condense into a small bead of light in your hands. Notice its warmth and color. With a gentle exhale, place that bead on an imagined thread of light running horizontally through your awareness. See it resting there, a simple, honored part of your strand. Notice any subtle shift in tone as the memory finds its place. Now design a tiny ritual you can do tomorrow morning to mark the day's start. 1 breath plus a single phrase or touch. It can be as simple as 3 breaths and the phrase "begin with care," or lighting a small lamp and feeling the warmth of the object. Make it 1 action and 1 phrase. Hold that future ritual lightly in mind. When you are ready, take 1 full nourishing breath, feel the support under your body, and let the eyes open slowly if they have been closed. Keep the small ritual as a portable anchor for the day ahead. Closing words for this section. Practices change time by changing attention, structure, and social context. Start small, be steady, and bring curiosity rather than judgment. Over weeks and months, the beads you place will accumulate, and your strand of life will feel richer, more held, and more humane. When you are ready, we will move to a longer guided recalibration that ties these practices together. For now, carry 1 small intention. Choose 1 microanchor you will use in the next hour. Return to it often and notice what shifts. Now begin by finding a posture that feels steady and safe. Sit with a straight, comfortable spine or lie down if that feels better. Allow your hands to rest where they feel natural. Relax the jaw, soften the shoulders, and let the face be gentle. Set 1 quiet intention for this practice. A small aim such as to notice, or to hold gently, or to be present for 1 thread of memory. Say that intention silently now, and let it settle like a small pebble dropped into still water. Centering and grounding. Bring attention to the breath. There is no need to change it. Simply follow it as it moves in and out. Notice the cool at the nostrils as you inhale, the warm at the lips as you exhale. Let each breath be a return. Soften your gaze or close your eyes if that feels safe. Now bring attention to 3 points of contact between your body and the support beneath you. Perhaps the soles of your feet, the seat of the chair, the weight of your hands. Name each contact silently. Foot, seat, hand. Feel the steadiness offered by gravity and the surface supporting you. Now take a slow breath and, on the exhale, imagine letting a line of gentle energy descend from the crown of the head through the body to the ground. Feel that line as a support. You are both held and rooted. Repeat this visualization for 2 more breaths. Each exhale deepens the sense of grounding. Body scan and regulation. Bring your attention to the top of the head and slowly scan down through the face, jaw, neck, shoulders. If you find tension, allow it to widen on the inhale and soften on the exhale. Continue scanning through chest, belly, hips, legs, and feet. For each area, imagine a soft, warm light resting there and breathing with you. If difficult sensations arise, treat them like weather. Notice without needing to change them. Label gently: tightness, tingle, warmth. Naming can reduce the sense of overwhelm and bring discrimination to experience. Each breath is a tiny anchor in the present, turning the memory into a bead. Now imagine the memory condensing into a single bead in your hands. A small orb of light carrying the texture you've observed. Notice its qualities: color, size, temperature, weight. Does it feel close or distant? Allow whatever arises without pushing. If fear or heaviness is present, imagine an outer cushion of soft light that protects you as you hold the bead. When you are ready, place this bead gently on the luminous thread at a comfortable distance from you. Neither too close nor so far that you lose its details. See how it rests among other beads. Notice how giving it space changes its intensity. Some of the weight may remain, but its urgency can lessen when it has a home. Resourcing and context. Now, with the bead on the thread, gently invite context around it. What happened before and after this moment? Can you imagine placing 2 smaller beads, one representing what immediately preceded, one representing what immediately followed? These context beads do not change the original. They situate it within a movement. If narrative gaps appear, do not force them. Allow small, truthful fragments to emerge or remain blank as they are. This relational placement helps the memory become part of a sequence rather than an isolated loop. The strand begins to look like a story with rhythm instead of a frozen replay. Compassionate witnessing and resourcing. Now imagine a supportive presence nearby. This could be an inner figure of compassion, a remembered friend, or simply a warm, steady light. Invite that presence to sit beside the thread, offering calm attention without judgment. If it helps, name a compassionate phrase silently as you breathe: "I am here," or "This is held." Bring your attention to the body and sense any changes. Less tightness, a small easing in the chest, a slowing of breath. Even small shifts are meaningful. Let the compassionate presence remain as you hold the bead on the thread. Small ritual for containment and integration. We will now create a tiny ritual to signal to the nervous system that the memory has a container and a place. On the next exhale, imagine closing a small lid over the bead, not to hide it, but to set a boundary that it will not flood the present. Picture the lid as porous. Light passes through, but the bead no longer intrudes without invitation. As you imagine closing the lid, place a gentle phrase near the bead, something stabilizing like, "I can hold this with care," or "This has a place." Repeat the phrase once or twice in rhythm with the breath. Embodiment and movement integration. Gently bring movement into the body to anchor this internal change. If seated, lift the arms slowly overhead on an inhale and lower on an exhale. If lying, bend the knees and roll gently to one side, pausing to feel contact with the ground. Let movement be small and intentional, a physical signature that the mind's reweaving has a sensoromotor counterpart. Designing a portable anchor. Now choose a small, portable anchor you can carry in daily life. A touch point, a smooth stone, a phrase, or a simple breath sequence. Practice the anchor once now. Touch the imagined object or say the phrase softly. Then take one full breath and notice steadiness. This anchor becomes your practice cue to return to the thread when needed. Journaling and reflective integration. When you feel ready, consider how you might record this practice to reinforce integration. A single sentence is enough. Today, I placed X on my thread and felt Y. You might add one small intention for tomorrow. I will practice my 3-breath anchor after lunch. Written notes are beads you intentionally set into your archive. Returning and closing. Bring attention back to the breath and to the points of contact that supported you at the start. Feel the steadiness of the ground beneath you. Take 3 full, nourishing breaths, and on the last exhale, gently open your eyes if they have been closed. Allow the room's light to enter slowly. Safety note and resources. If anything felt destabilizing during this practice, please pause this recording and return to a trusted person or contact a qualified practitioner. Practices can open material that benefits from professional support. You may also replay a short grounding track, walk outside, or use your anchor until steadiness returns. Closing reflection and invitation. As you move forward, carry the image of the thread and the beads with you, a practical metaphor for placing memory with care. Try the small ritual and the anchor once in the next 24 hours, and note any subtle shifts in the felt present. If you'd like more practices like this, or a deeper series on integration, let me know in the comments. Take one final nourishing breath. Thank yourself for the patience and care you gave in this time. When you are ready, move gently into what follows. Bring your awareness back to the body for a moment. Sense the points of contact beneath you, the grounds that hold you, and allow one easy breath to arrive and leave without effort. We have moved together through many shapes of time tonight. The ways attention and memory make moments long or short, the particular wounds trauma can lay upon the felt present, the openings of flow and awe, and a set of practices that help place memory with care. Each of these is an invitation, not to fix everything at once, but to begin small, to notice, and to steward your own strand of time with gentleness. Choose one idea from tonight that felt true for you. Perhaps the 3-breath microanchor, the nightly 3-line journal, the small ritual at transition, or the image of beads on a luminous thread. Hold that idea lightly in mind. This single thread is enough to begin. A few practical reminders to carry forward. Start very small. 2 minutes of a new practice, repeated, often matters more than long sessions done rarely. Use the body as your compass. When memories feel dense, return to grounding. Contact points, breath, and movement. Share when it's safe. Telling one trusted person one small detail can multiply the effect of remembering and reduce isolation. Seek professional support for heavy material. If memories feel overwhelming, reach out to a trauma-informed clinician or local resources. You do not have to do this alone. Community practices extend individual care. If you're part of a group, consider starting a short circle, 1 minute each to name a small event and one phrase of appreciation. These simple communal beats accumulate, and they convert private fragments into shared belonging. If you found tonight helpful, there are a few ways to continue. Subscribe to the channel for more guided explorations. Leave a brief comment naming one image or small shift you noticed, or save this episode and practice the microanchor 3 times in the next day. Your small actions are the seeds of lasting change. For your safety and care, if this session surfaced difficult feelings, pause, breathe, and return to grounding practices now. Reach out to a trusted friend, clinician, or a local support line if you feel unsafe. You can also replay the grounding section of this episode or use the portable anchor you created during the practice. A short closing practice. Place one hand over your heart and one hand on your belly. Inhale slowly for a count that feels natural, feeling the warmth under your hand. Exhale and imagine the thread of light in front of you. A gentle reminder that memories have places and that you have the capacity to hold them with care. Breathe in again, and on the out-breath, offer one quiet intention for the next day. A phrase such as begin with care or one breath, one bead. When you are ready, Slowly return your attention to the room. Wiggle your fingers and toes, stretch the shoulders, and open your eyes with gentleness. Carry this presence into what follows. Thank you for sharing this time. If you'd like a printable guide, a short practice audio, or a deeper series on memory and integration, let me know in the comments or check the episode notes for links and resources. Be gentle with yourself. One small bead placed today changes the look of an entire strand tomorrow.